Welcome to the MadHouse podcast, a safe place where we discuss the things that have been on our mind. So sit back, relax, as we dive deep down into the rabbit hole to see how far it goes. Hey,
What's up, man?
we finally here. Welcome to the MadHouse podcast. Like I said, we got visuals coming. Just want to let you know, on Mondays and Wednesdays, I'm going to be more active on Instagram. I'm going to post a little bit more, so you might see me around. I'm trying to get to more comments. We're going to try to be more engaged. So just want to throw that out there before we get the episode started.
I'm proud
Holding
of this
myself
guy.
accountable to that.
I'm proud of this dude. He's actually trying to make a
I
conscious
posted
effort.
something last week, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to come up with an inspirational thought. And I'm walking outside, I'm like, man, all I can think about is how jacked up my bathroom was.
Yeah,
kids.
I saw the video that you posted.
And I was like, man, and then I was thinking about they jacked up the kitchen, and I was like, that's all I could think about. I was like, man, I gotta get these kids right. So you might see more stuff like that from me. So look forward to that. But today we got something that's a little bit more on our side of the fence, where we like to talk about things that we go through, emotional things. So more home base, on Instagram, you might see me with a little bit more, go a little more off the chain. But I think today we're going over closure?
Yeah, so today we're going to be talking a little bit about closure. And this is something that's kind of hitting real close to home with me, with everything that's going on in my life right now. This is a topic I've been really wanting to talk about. And, I'm super excited to get the podcast going again, because I've wanted to talk about this for a while, because, I don't want to go too much into detail, but I've had a situation in my life that it's been going on for quite a while. Like, it's been drawn out.
And it's funny because I remember way back, and I didn't understand it. When you told me, I was like, what the hell is this dude talking about?
Yeah.
Because when I was going through my divorce, and you're like, oh, just get ready, and this is going, it's going to be time. I'm like, what are you talking about, man? I said, we literally walked in there. We forgot to fill out paperwork. It took us 20 minutes to fill it out, and then 30 minutes later, we were divorced. It happened like in a span of an hour, no prep. We just had the appointment, and so when you were telling me this big story, I'm like, dang, your divorce process must have took a long time, and come to find out, you weren't even divorced. I was like, how did you not get divorced before me? When I started, so I was confused. So I didn't understand where your journey was, where you were coming from.
It's been like the world's longest divorce, and that's going to court 5 or 6 times, getting turned away. The thing that really kind of held the whole process up was Jacob. Obviously, when you have children and you have two sides that aren't really necessarily seeing eye to eye, you got two people that I want this, and like two people are butting heads. And it for the longest time, it just was not coming together, and like things were not in my favor. They didn't look good for me, so I was like, man, and it was making me upset, because I'm just like, I just want to be done with this. Like, I want it to be done.
Yeah.
But I mean, I digress just a smidge. But like, now that that's like, it's finally closed, it's finally over.
The chapter's done.
Yeah, I've officially closed that chapter in my life, and I made a video on Instagram, and I'll reiterate just a little bit, because I feel like it needed to be said, because I was like, this to me, this is a really, really big thing. I was like, I'm gonna keep the exact same energy that I've always had. Like, when I wasn't in a position of leverage and I was going through all those things I was going through, there was time, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I thought of, because when things tilted in my favor, I thought to all those negative times, and I was like, man, you really put me through hell. Like, but now that the ball is in my court, and it's like, I have the leverage. There's a part of me that was like,
that what's it called? That
it's retribution. Like,
no, not retribution. Yeah, it's retribution, but I used to watch. I don't know if you used to watch the show Sons of Anarchy.
No.
And they had their big thing was retaliation.
Yeah.
It was like, we gotta retaliate. They hit us. We can't not retaliate.
Yeah.
We gotta show strength. And the big thing was just like, someone attacks you or does wrong by your family, you have to retaliate.
Yeah.
Like that was their big, like, we gotta retaliate, man. I'm like, you don't gotta retaliate. Like,
but
do you really? Like, do you really?
It's really it was difficult because I ain't gonna lie, I thought about it, and the thought did cross my mind.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like even as I was going through all that stuff with him and her, the only thought that I ever had in my mind was like, yeah, you may be hurting me, but at the same time, like, who does this really affect? I was like, it affects my son. And I always told myself, I was like, I would never do that to somebody. I would never do something to anybody else that affects him first.
Yeah.
So when I finally got my, we'll call it a position of leverage, the thought did cross my mind. I was like, oh, so now it's my turn. But I was like, you know what? I'm not going to do that. So I felt it necessary to make my video and be like, look, dog, I'm in a position of power right now, but I'm not going to go that route because I saw the effect that it had on my son, and that's not something that I would want for him. So I just made it a point to put that out like, hey, look, I know what happened. I was there. I lived through it, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to keep the same energy that I've always had, and I'm going to continue pushing this thing forward because to me, that's what my son deserves. And, like, I don't want to be that type of man. Like, that's just not going to be me. Like, whether I feel like I was done wrong in this whole thing, which there are times where I feel like I was like, I'm not going to do this because that just then, it's like violence begets more violence, and I don't want to do that.
I have to interject. And I got to correct you.
Go for it, man.
I got to correct you on something. For the viewers, too.
Mm-hmm.
You said something that was false.
What's up?
You said, I'm in a position of power. Now,
I said leverage.
Leverage.
Leverage. That's what it is.
Leverage with power. But the thing is, the way I look at it like this: if you're in a position of, what you think is power, and you want to use that to downgrade someone, or kind of put any marks on their life, I'm gonna stain you as much as possible. It's really not a power, because that person technically has power over you because you care that much to want to hurt them.
True.
Which means that inside your mind, whether subconsciously or consciously you're thinking about it, they're in your head. And you want to do wrong and you want to do harm to them. Versus like if you swap positions, you're like, I mean, I'm not even worried about, giving my ex that same energy because it's not even a factor. That to me says I'm not even worried about you. Like, I've moved on. Like, I'm beyond that. Like, you have no, like, I control my emotions. I know we talked about that a lot, and I think we have to acknowledge that when you're in control of your emotions and you're finding that better path, you're like, well, I mean, but why would I do that? Like, I don't. You're not even phasing me. Like I don't even see you. And I think that's important to acknowledge that we have to understand that being in a position to where someone else doesn't dictate your moves or your logic, I think that's more powerful than being in a position where you could, hurt someone.
Yeah, it's taking the high road.
Yeah,
and
it's tough.
Yeah, it's hard.
Tough.
It's hard to be the bigger person and be like,
tough.
I'm not going to do that, or I'm not gonna, because as people, when somebody do something to you, the first thing is like, oh, okay, so now I got you. I'm gonna tag you back, baby.
Naturally,
but then when you get a chance to, I think it says a lot about your character if you do it or don't do it. Because if you can easily do it, it's like, oh man, I could easily do this. But I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna do this because I don't feel like I need to. I want to, but I don't need to.
I wouldn't fault you for thinking about it because that's just.
I mean, I did think about it. I thought about it.
As a human, you're gonna think. I
thought about it.
I think what really matters, because a lot of people sometimes people's like, oh, well, you was thinking about it, but what do you do though? Like, what are your actions? Like, it's one thing to be like, you know what? I like that new iPhone. Triple GX, but I ain't got the bread. You know what? I think I'm gonna just rob a bank. Or I know this cat down the street who got this money under his mattress. I'm gonna hit him up. And then you be like, you know what? I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna find another way. So it's like you could think about something, but just because you think about it
doesn't mean that's who you are.
It doesn't mean that's who you are. We all have those dark moments where we think about some dark stuff, but if you don't act on it, I think that's what's important. And you didn't act on it, so I'm proud of you, man.
And I really feel good about it because I was like, I could, but I'm like, I'm not gonna allow anybody else's actions that I perceive to be, I guess, not so favorable to me. I'm not gonna allow that to change me and make me something that I'm not. So, you know, I'm good with that. Like, we've moved past that chapter in my life, and I'm ready to move forward. So now we're on to the next chapter. So now it's like dealing with the aftermath of that. So like now I've had Jaco for the past couple months now, and I've loved it. It's awesome. But when I say that means I got him every day. So that means
now you welcome my world.
You know, it's like, but this isn't nothing new to me because this is how it used to be. Like I always used to have him, but now it's like I just always got him, and it makes me feel good because I like having him there. Like I just like having him around because it gives me somebody to kind of like keep me on my toes. Like he's always there. I always have to be on the schedule. Just like, okay, I gotta go drop him off. Now I gotta go pick him up. I gotta pack the lunches. I gotta fold the clothes. I gotta wash I got all these things that I have to do that gives me things to do. And I'm like, I like having him around because he just keeps me accountable. He keeps me on my toes. Like, hey man, if you don't go to the gym in the morning, you ain't going. Like if you don't go between this time and this time, you just don't go. So I'm like, man, I'm tired. I want to go. I'm just tired. I was like, hey, but if you don't go, you ain't going. I'm like, okay, let me go ahead and go now. And I like it. I enjoy it. And it's like the transition from you know, having a couple of hours with him and the way that made me feel, it's like night and day. Because remember, like a couple months ago, there was a time where I was only getting a few hours with him because I have to work. So I only had him for like 2 or 3 hours, and I had to go drop him off. And that killed me. Like, it made me upset, and I was just mad about it because I'm like, dude, I don't get no time with my son. He doesn't understand. He doesn't see what's going on. All he knows is like, okay, dad picks me up and dad dropped me off. Like, well, what about our time? So now that it's like we get all the time together, I'm a lot more okay and open with him going to spend time with other people because I know that I'm going to get that back.
Yeah, it took me a while, but for a different reason. I just didn't want my kids with anybody else because I didn't think, I just didn't want anybody else taking care of them. But that kind of segues kind of into my little episode that I went through. And when I say I didn't want anybody else to watch the kids, I think it was less of me worrying about their safety and more about a philosophy. There was a certain way I wanted to do things with my kids that was a little bit different. Yeah. Like, you know, I love Granny Tita. Love her to death. Love her to death. Yeah. But she has a different philosophy.
Old school, yeah.
Than I do. So I don't always let the kids go over there much. I love my mom. But she has a different philosophy than I do. So, you know, I wouldn't, you know, when moms would ask me about, oh, can I watch the kids or whatever, and I'd be like, nah, I don't feel comfortable with you watching. I'm like, do you even know how to watch the kids? Do you even know how to take care of kids? You haven't had kids in a long time. And so that was something I had to deal with. And I think that just as recent as, I think it was like last week when I really thought about it, because I think I've been over there. This is during the storm, and I think Nani had said something and asked me, "Could she watch the kids?" I was like, nah. I was like, I just started letting my mom watch the kids. I asked her, and mom was like, yeah, you just did. And I thought about it, I was like, you know what? I think that's something I have to deal with and accept from a childhood point of view. It's like I felt a certain way about my mom when I was younger, and I hadn't addressed those issues. And now that I'm older, I've kind of addressed those, and now I found that closure in the fact that, hey, I kind of felt this way, but I've seen you kind of grown a little bit. I've grown a little bit, and I feel comfortable with you watching the kids now. And I feel like that was a good point for me, finding that closure and saying, hey, you know what? I really just didn't like the way you did things as a parent, and I just didn't want my kids to
be around that.
And so, like, I felt like you were too sporadic. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. I mean, it's nothing wrong with being a free spirit, but like I need my kids to have more stability and more like you're really like a free spirit. Just, you know what? I wake up tomorrow. Hey, let's take the kids. Let's take the kids to Florida. I'm like, the kids got to go to school. Oh, they can miss a few days. See, this is what I'm talking about. Like that's not how we operate. So I was able to address that, and I kind of found some closure in that, and saying that, you know what, it's okay to expose them to different trains of thoughts in a control way, and as long as you have that conversation and say, hey, I kind of felt this way, but I've seen you changed, and now I've changed, and we love each other. We can move on, and I'll let you ask the kids. And I had to. I think I was forced to address it just because, bro, I really wanted some time alone. If you could hear the tapping,
I'm not laughing because we saw. So if you hear the tapping, so Jaco is over here now.
Yeah,
and like,
so this is part of your code.
Yeah.
This is part of being their full-time dad.
But I'm okay with this. But like, he doesn't want to do nothing until I'm doing something. A minute ago, he didn't even want that toy. As soon as I was like, all right, let's get to work. He got up from the couch because he's watching TV. He gets up from the couch.
Oh, man.
Goes to find this toy. Makes all this toys. He's like, oh, now is the time to play with this. And he's like, tick, 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 tick. And I'm just like, I saw him getting it too, and I was just like, yep. I was like, I don't know what it is. He must have felt it. He was like, somebody about to work.
I told you about. I think it was a couple weeks ago. I told you about that. I said, when I'm tired, Pablo wants pancakes. Yeah. But when I'm up, like when we have those mornings when I'm still in bed, and I'm like, Pablo, get up. It's time for school. Get up and do your class. Daddy, get up and make me pancakes. I'm tired, man. And he'll just stare at me, staring into my soul. You gonna make me pancakes? But when I'm up, and I'm like, okay, let's go. Let's get ready to go. Yeah, you know what? I said, Papa, I'm gonna make you some pancakes. I'm up and ready. You want the pancakes? I'll just make me some cereal. I'm gonna make me some cereal. Oh, really? So when I'm dragging ass,
that's when you gotta make the pancakes ahead of time. Have a little Tupperware of them, and then, Dad, I want pancakes. Okay, cool. I already made them. They're in the refrigerator. No, but I need them. Nah, dog. You get to.
But you see when the kids know, oh, you want some serious stuff? Oh, you tired? I want pancakes. So you trying to do the show?
So if y'all heard that tapping, that was Jaco. So he's in the back. He's playing with toys. My baby being my baby.
My kids are gone. They're with them. They're with their moms right now. But back on topic, like I said, that was some good closure for me, and that happened just as recent. Like I said, when we went through the storm, and we just happened to fall in that conversation. Yeah. And she was asking, Nana was asking, like, why don't you, like, let your mom watch the kids? I'm like, hey, just.
I like them better than me.
I didn't, I didn't want to ride like that, and I had to. Like I said, it's just something I had to address, and I'm glad that now I can find closure in the fact that, hey, I'm more willing to let the kids go out, and I can address those repressed feelings of anger back in the day, that deep anger back in there, and I can bring that out and say, hey, I'm gonna address you, and you know what? We're not gonna ride like that no more. I'm gonna let my moms watch the kids. I'm gonna let Pops and Granny watch the kids every now and then, and I'm gonna get a break. Yeah. And I'm gonna sit home and I'm gonna go to bed.
Yeah, you do what you want to do with your free time. But I think that's an important part of like getting any type of closure. But I think to have that closure, you have to be able to address the issue in which you had. And I like to think that over this past, this past year, I've really gotten more and more self-aware, and I've been able to address more things and say, well, you know what, that actually does bother me. And when things bother me, I have to acknowledge the fact that bothers me. Because sometimes, you try to gloss over things. Like, oh, I didn't really care. I wasn't really bothered. But you really were. But in the back of your mind, because you're thinking about it, and you're like, how are you going to do me this? You say you don't care because you don't want to care. But in essence, you really do. And, when you finally are honest with yourself, it's like, you know what? That did bother me. Let me go ahead and accept it. Oh, okay. I'm upset that it bothered me, but at the same time, it still bothered me. So I'm like, you know what? Let me go ahead and address it. Because now you can move forward because you've already acknowledged it. Now I can say, okay, I'm ready to kind of heal a little bit. I know what's bothering me. Okay, hey, whatever the case is, like, hey, I can do something about it, and then you can kind of close that chapter. But there are just times where in our lives where we don't want to acknowledge things. We don't want to acknowledge that it's hurt us, that it's made us sad, and we can't really get that closure, and we can't move forward because we're so, I guess we're so hell-bent on like not, we don't want to make ourselves feel like we're weak or that we care, and like, I don't want to come out and say it, but in the back of your mind that you know you do.
Sometimes I think sometimes I think it's more about you don't want to hurt someone's feelings too sometimes, and I think like sometimes you might want to like, you know what, Pops made me feel away, but you know Pops has been pretty good to me, and I don't really want, I don't know how he'll take this. So I'm just gonna leave it alone. Or maybe Mom's did this and I don't like it, but you know she had a bad week last week, and I want to get this off my chest, but I don't know how she's gonna take it. So sometimes I think it's just you don't know how that person's gonna take it.
It's all about timing.
But I think the direct approach is always the best approach for me. Like for me personally, like I don't really get emotional like that. Like if someone will come to me, like if you come to me and you want to address something, like it doesn't hurt my feelings. Like I don't feel betrayed or like, or how dare you. I don't care. Like you just come to me and tell me. I'm not gonna be sad about it. I'm not gonna be angry. I'm just gonna like, that's what you say. Okay, cool. And a lot of times like some people are probably like, well, dang, you're not gonna react or you're not gonna show any emotion. I'm like, you just told me how you feel. Yeah. I understand now. I'm not gonna sit here and dwell on it. Like you told me how you feel. Yeah. I can understand that, and we'll see what we can do about it. But I mean, besides that, I mean that's it. So, and I think it's best like that. Like if you want closure, I think it's just best to go direct approach. Like,
and I think you can ask for closure, but you have to understand that not everybody will give you the type of closure that you want. Like you don't always get it the exact way that you want to have it.
So,
like you can get closure, but you have to understand that different people have different versions of. Like to me, my version may just be like, you know, hey, I messed up. You may want to hear me be like, hey, tell me how you messed up. Why'd you mess up? Why'd you do it? I ain't giving you all that. Hey, man, I messed up. My bad. But to me, that was enough. But you may want more, but you then have to accept that, hey, I gave you what I could give you. It's on you if you're going to accept it or you're not.
Well, I think it's about compromise. Like, you have to be willing to, like, say, hey, I can accept what you give me because you met me halfway. I can't expect you to do, because I think we make up this whole scenario in our heads. I would do the same. I would do the same thing. I still do it to this day. I make up a whole scenario in my head. Like I'm doing like the 5 W's in my head on everything. I'm planning what I'm gonna do, what I'm gonna say, how we're gonna say it, what they're gonna say in return, and what I expect them to say, and how I expect to respond. And then when they hit you with something totally different, you be like, "This is not how I planned it. This is not how I saw it." I mean, you find yourself doing that sometimes. Like you know, when you go into a conversation, you already know what you want out of it, and when you don't get that, then you're mad. Yeah. Which I think is a problem too, because then we've already set an expectation that is unrealistic.
Yeah, because we want what we want. Like I said, I want the kind of closure that I want you to answer every question that I have, but not everyone's gonna give you that. Like you may literally just get I messed up, and that's the end of it. It's like I've acknowledged that I messed up, and that's all you're gonna get from me. Like I'm not gonna sit down and be like, okay, I did this because no. I said that I messed up, and then we're moving on. But it just is what it is.
Was that Kevin Hart? Yeah, it was like Kevin Hart where he's talking about, I told my son to go to sleep, and talking about he just went there, stood right up, standing still, just let his head. Talking about he's talking about, I was mad because you did what I told you to do, but not in the way I wanted you to do it. Still, but no, who falls asleep standing up? I wanted you to go to your bed. So it's like it's one of them instances where it's like, you're not always gonna get what you want.
Yeah, you just gotta be able to accept what you get and kind of move forward with that and just be like, you know what? This was the version. It's not exactly what I wanted, but it's still the version. It's still a form of closure, and like, I can be okay with that. Like, I'm good. I mean, I'm good with that though.
And I think it kind of moves us to like the last point. Like, you know, we talked about like, hey, we had these little events and we found some closure, and I think that it's always like good not to like get wrapped up in that because we wanna look forward.
Yeah.
We want to keep pushing, and we're gonna find new road bumps.
Yeah.
So, it's one of them things like, how am I gonna press forward if I got a flat tire back here? I never addressed it, but I still got 20 miles to get home.
Yeah.
My destination is still 20 miles ahead. Instead of, hey, you know what? Instead of stopping, fixing that flat, throwing on a spare, and kept on going, now I'm trying to drag this flat, and now I done hit a pothole, and now I'm even more mad. And so you're just compounding it if you just carry that into the future. So I said, like, it's about addressing it, and trying to find that closure and moving on. And this, there's a lot of stuff we need closure on.
Definitely, and I think that.
You're not gonna get closure on everything.
As people, we want it, but at the same time, we can't get so caught up in having it the way we want it.
Yeah.
We have to accept what we get. Don't get caught up in like, well, if only I can have this or do that. Like, we need to work on being present in the moment, because there've been times where, even after like things started going in my favor, like I kind of like started playing the what if game, and here I am like, okay, but what if this happens, and what if, and like none of that stuff even came to fruition. But in my mind, I'm sitting there game plan. I was like, okay, well if this happens, I'm gonna do this. But what if this happens, and now what I'm? So I've created another stressful situation and put myself into it, thinking about things that may or may not ever happen, and I wasn't even. And it's crazy because like. There's a movie called Soul, and it's on Disney.
Oh yeah,
so
my kids want to watch it.
Me and Jake done watched it so many times, and like, actually when it came out, it was around Christmas time. So I got Jake, we're hanging out, and like this is this wasn't like in the midst of everything. Like this is kind of like on the downslope, but I was kind of in that mode of like.
Are you talking about?
This is like.
During the storm happened, or are you talking about this was more like
this is before. This is like around the Christmas time, but like. From a mental standpoint, I was still kind of in limbo. I'm like, hey, what's going on with this? And he's like, I don't know. We're still waiting to hear from X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, all right, cool. So, but at that point in time, I remember I was game planning because I'm like, man, what if it's this and what if it's that? Like, I like the way things are going. So I worked myself up into all this stress. And me and Jake were sitting there watching a movie, and like, there's a part where Jamie Foxx is basically talking to the female.
Was that Jamie Foxx?
Yeah, he's in there. He's talking to the female character, and he was like. He's like, well, that's just regular old living, 22. Because she's going through all these things, and he was like, I like doing this, and I like jazzing, and I like this stuff. And he's like, well, that's just regular old living. And it dawned on me that I was just like, I've created all these what if scenarios that may or may not ever happen, and I'm missing out on these little moments that me and him are having, like the little moments where we're sitting on the couch, we're watching TV. Jaco's just like he's holding my arm, he's just holding me there, and he just looks at me like, hey, Dad. I was like, yeah, what's up, buddy? Love you. And then he just goes back to what he was doing. Like, and it was in that moment that I realized, like, man, all these little moments that we're having, it's not the big moments that, like, I think back on. It's those little bitty moments that, like, when we're just laying in the bed, like, I'm reading his bedtime story, or doing whatever, like, we're taking our bath, or whatever. It's the little moments that really mean the most to me, because those are the moments that he surprises me the most in. Like, he didn't have no reason. Like, we're literally just watching a movie, and he just looks up, and he's like, I love you. And I'm like,
we got to address like those pixelated movies. I don't know what they call them. Yeah, them Pixar movies. It's a lot of them, but the little pixelated movies, they have little nuggets in them sometimes.
They have things for adults that only adults get, but you'll look back later and you be like, oh dang, that was actually.
Well, I've noticed there's a lot of like sly like jabs at stuff that only adults would know. Like, why is this in a kid film? But I think they put them in there because they know adults are watching these with you're watching with kids.
It's something for everybody.
And I find it funny too, like you said, it's about little stuff, because I've noticed like little nuggets in those shows, and I'll think about stuff with my kids, and it makes me think about things. And I guess I'm glad that you're making it, on this journey, and you're finding that closure, and you're appreciating the little things.
Yeah. Just being present in the moment as I'm in it, as opposed to like trying to game plan and think 4 or 5 steps ahead. I'm like, life isn't like chess. Like, there are moments in life where you can approach it like chess, but life isn't like chess. It's more so about, it's like a train ride. It's slow, and like, you're so focused on where you're going. But remember, trains go, I guess, relatively slow as opposed to, you know, other modes of transportation. But you see so much more scenery. Like, you see things as they're kind of unfolding in front of you that you couldn't do if you were driving. So it's almost like a train ride. Like, be present in those moments, appreciate them, and, you know, don't try not to get so concerned with what's coming, because it may or may never happen. Like, those things may happen, but they may or may never happen. So I just had to make it a point, and in that moment, it was then that I really realized, and I was like, I have to put an emphasis on being present in these moments, because when I look back, when I'm laying in bed and I'm watching my videos on my phone of me and Jake when he's not there, I'm just like,
but you don't got a computer.
Yeah, I was like, oh no, I ain't got no computer, man. I look at our little videos on my phone sometimes before I go to bed if he ever leaves or he's a grandma or whatever, and I'm just like, that was a good moment right there. Like, that was fun, but I lived through it, and like I can just always kind of look back on it. But
that's nice, man. I'm glad you got Jake on now, and
but things have really turned around, and I'm really like I'm better for it.
It's been on 180.
Yeah,
I think we started this show venting on.
Yeah, I was
on some of those old issues.
Yeah,
and to see that now it's a new year and everything is coming together.
And I'll even be happy to report that, like, while I want to be very, because I mean she may end up watching this. I don't want to say it in a way that's like negative or anything. It's never to bash anybody. Yeah. I don't want to say this to because she very well may watch this video, so I'm not saying this to the bad mouth or anything. It's like, it's not that I'm like overly concerned about the things that she does, because I mean, as long as I know that my son is good, I'm good with that. And like, I'll be around her as much as I need to be for his sake. Like, I don't necessarily want to be around her because I just want to be around her. I'm like, look, you know, we don't have anything to do with each other anymore but this one thing.
Yeah.
But I'll be around you as much for his sake. And I'll never crap talk you in front of him or anything. I'll crap talk you real quick, just not in front of my son.
Yeah.
But like, I'll be around her as much as I need to be, because I think it's in his best interest to have both his parents in his life. So for whatever that means, whether that means like going on trips together, you know, going to the movies together, I'll do those things, not because I want to, but because I personally, in my heart of hearts, feel like that is what's best for him. So I don't want to call it tolerate, but I'll do whatever, I'll tolerate whatever, I'll go through whatever, as long as I feel like it's in his best interest. And like, I personally feel like him being with me right now is in his best interest. And in the future, we can kind of see, you know, if things change, you know, we'll address it as it comes along. But in this present moment, I'm in a happy place. Like, I'm feeling good because I was able to close that chapter in my life. Now I'm able to move on, and I can put that emphasis on focusing on living in the moment and trying to be present and enjoying all those little moments that we have. So, you know, like, that's just kind of the biggest takeaway from today's show. And like, this is just a topic that I really, really, really wanted to address. I really wanted to talk about it. I'm super happy to report that things have went relatively well for me in the last couple weeks. Now, granted, I still go through my periods of time where I'm kind of like not feeling the best, a little depression here and there.
We all feel that.
Yeah, I still go through those, but at least I can do them. I put that timestamp on there. I was like, okay, I started this Friday. Hey man, by Sunday, I got to break this. Like, I can't just be sad for 4 or 5 weeks, because
we still moving on.
Because I got that little man, like, he's counting on me. He's like, hey Dad, I mean Fruit Loops. I need you to be excited about that. I'm like, you know what? Like, the Fruit Loops, because that's what he wants from me. So I have to be able to give him that type of energy. So I'm super happy that we got the MadHouse podcast back up, and we even got visuals. So now you can kind of see us, what we do.
So you gonna get the vibe. Y'all know the vibe. And that's how we gonna do it. Good
but
vibes,
like, next time, all the kids might be here. So just a disclaimer, the kids are here pretty frequently. Jaco's here today. The other kids gonna be like, and they not quiet. So you may hear somebody slamming a door to use the bathroom, somebody flushing the toilet, somebody playing with like a loud toy.
We do it live here. So.
Yeah, like I said, it's not always gonna be. This is like, that's his little train horn that he just got. He's super excited about it, but it may not be always this quiet. But at the same time, like, we wanted to come back, give you guys, you know, more content. I've had a lot of people reach out and kind of like, hey, you know, when you coming back, you know, I want to hear more of your thoughts, you know, how you think about things. But
well, we didn't go anywhere. Short hiatus, just to decompress and get back on track in our own lives.
Kind of retool. Like I said, obviously we got visual right now. Like I said, it ain't nothing special. I'm thinking about getting like a little GoPro or something.
Yeah, it's
a little something, little razzle dazzle.
Look, we gotta do something.
Yeah, we'll do something. Like I said, we want to come out with, more things to kind of like make people feel involved. So, I'm gonna get with him. Maybe we'll do something like maybe once a week we'll do like a live video or something. Like maybe y'all can ask questions or whatever. Because somebody may want to, hey, show me under the beanie. I want to see what's under your beanie, Natheeeeze.
Man, you do not want to see under. There's a reason I wear the beanie.
You don't.
It's a reason you don't want to see it. Mm-hmm. We're not gonna drag on too much longer. I appreciate y'all for coming out. We're gonna see y'all next week. Mm-hmm. This Mondays and Wednesdays.
So he'll be. So all right, we'll get back to the old schedule. So it'll be MadHouse Monday.
Mondays and Wednesdays. I'm actually gonna say something.
Yeah. So that's the Natheeeeze. Yeah. Monday. That's the Natheeeeze thing. He gonna be Monday, Wednesday. He gonna do his thing. I'm gonna post my video whenever I want to post them. Now I may be working out. I may be dancing in the kitchen. I'm gonna do what I want to do, and it's sporadic. I just do it when I feel like doing it. But he got his little set thing and times. Yeah. I'm gonna just be me, and I'm gonna do me when I feel like doing me. And I hope you guys tune in. All right. So thanks for joining us. Hopefully you tune in next time. All right.
See y'all next time. Birdman hand rub.
There you go. Thanks for tuning in with us today. Hopefully we were able to give you something you can use and take forward into your day. If you want to reach out to us with any questions, comments, concerns, or even topic requests, links are in the description. Join us back here again next week in the MadHouse. We appreciate you and where you are in your journey in life. And always remember, we're all quite mad here. You'll fit right in.